Spaghetti Community Club. I am joined today in the booth by Kiora, Pyre, and Darth Plagle, who are doing commentary and restreaming and tracking, respectively. And we're going to be watching Scarcer and Judge Joe go against each other today. Kiora, welcome to the booth. How are you doing this afternoon?
I am doing fairly well this lovely afternoon on my end on the East Coast. I hope everyone else is wherever they are is having a great afternoon as well or evening. Um, so I'm fairly new to Free Enterprise and Mom Spaghetti. Could you tell me a little bit as we get our racers started?
Absolutely, and welcome. So, Mom's Spaghetti Club is a very interesting club that is designed around having a lot of objectives, but you only need five of them for your to win the game. It is a O win, so there is no Z fight, so you don't necessarily have to worry about a ton of levels or anything like that. But to review, our racers are going to need to, in some way, shape, or form, get five of defeat Wyvern, trade away the pink tail, return the Pantheon's wife, trade away the rat tail, defeat Rubicant, get Edward, unlock the sealed cave and or complete the sealed cave, and complete Mount Duels and complete the Asura spot, which would be the Queen spot and the Fay March. So quite a few things there. Nothing too terribly difficult outside of maybe that Asura spot and completing sealed cave. There can be some pretty gnarly bosses down there. But I have a feeling might be a pretty quick seed, especially if some of these bosses show up quick, and especially that Edward.
Well, I mean, I agree. It looks like it might be fairly quick, but I think with so many pretty quick objectives, I think I know I would have a hard time trying to decide which ones I could go for and which ones I couldn't. So it's going to be really interesting to see how everyone gets these objectives and what everyone picks on my end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the cruxes of this club is that, routing ends up being really important. When you only need five out of your 10, what do you choose to go after versus what do you choose to fade and maybe not have value in? But here we go. Judge Joe already kicking it off. Scars are soon behind, and we're going to be joined by a Porum with a Val as our Baron boss and just some Artist arrows to start. So no key item off the go.
Well, I am definitely happy to see Porm. That is one of my favorite characters, and I have a lot of fun working with them.
Yep, the two kiddos gonna take that airship for a ride. No adults allowed yet, but nonetheless, I think this flag set has T Wild and S Wild on, which means that just about anything is gonna show up in your shops or your treasure chests. You never know what it's gonna be, but that's actually kind of nice because it means you can get power really quickly. And add on to that the ambidextrous wacky flag. Yeah, you may not even see a cast from Rydia. She may just hit things today.
Now, that is a new term I've never heard of before. The ambidextrous what was that again?
Yes, the Omnidister's flag is one of the Free Enterprise wacky flags, and what it does is allows any character to equip any weapon in either hand and equip any armor in any slot. So you could put three adamant armors and two Avengers on and just go completely over the top with killing everything as fast as possible. And you could do all that on Iridia.
I see both our racers have gone to Baron and is basically just doing all of their basic checks in Baron.
Yeah, Baron, not normally somewhere you start, but with, like I said, S Wild and T Wild, those chests are going to be weighted just as heavily as anywhere else, and there's a decent amount in Baron Town. Similarly, you'll see over on Scarcer's side coffins in the shop. Normally, you don't see coffins there on kind of a more standard, S standard flag set, but in S Wild, they'll show up anywhere. So these overworld shops can have some really amazing value in them. Scarcer choosing to head over to Damsian had a moment there. Once again, you've got some pretty decent treasure density there, and with both of the tails being a trade-in, you're probably going to need that hovercraft anyway, so might as well take the time, get some good treasure, raise that hovercraft, and hopefully find something to get you really off the ground. Because as much as these two characters are going to do a lot of work for you, they are very very squishy in the beginning with not a lot of HP.
Yeah, right, right. Definitely. I agree with you on that one. I'm looking forward to see who's going to be able to get their first character in. I see we've got Hovercraft by Scarcer, which is good.
Yeah, especially sticking with the loot train, going to the backside of Waterfall. Once again, really good density there. But unfortunately, seeing a few of those open chests, one of the other settings here is T-sparse 70, which means about only 70% of your chests are going to be full of items. And that is definitely kind of nipping him right there, with only one chest actually having anything in it.
Judge Joe over here doing ordeals.
Oh, I apologize. That would actually be Hobbs
Oh,
doing Hobbs for the
sorry.
character check. Yeah, no worries at all. But a pretty good one with Edward being a character to pick up and a boss potentially. Only Antline here, but hey, that Cecil, may not hold as much value as he normally does because of Ambidextrous, but nonetheless a very strong character with really good stats once he picks up levels. So he'll do a lot of work, even if you don't necessarily need him quite as much as maybe you do in normal flag sets without Ambidextrous.
I love how at Hubs there was my favorite little mandible kitty there, a little ant line action. But yeah, with that Cecil managed to hit it pretty quickly.
Yeah, great pickup. Great spot to see the Mandible Kitty too. Can't be a little feisty in some of the higher spots, especially that Astra spot, which is one of our objectives. That is a punchy spot with a lot of physical attack power, and that is what Antline does best. Some very fun strats from Scarcer. First throwing a Boreas item for the Ice 2 effect, and then using Dark Wave. Once again, something you don't always see in the flags, or in any race, really. Not the most useful skill, so very fun to see that come up.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Dark Wave only stays on Dark Knight Cecil, and it doesn't do a ton of damage and actually causes a little damage to Cecil too, but sometimes when you just need that last little bit of punching power, it can do the trick, which it did there.
Judge Joe having the jalapeno puppy fight.
Yeah, and unfortunately having a little bit of trouble with it. Probably following after the K Monster in a Box flag, that Jalapeno Kitty could have had value in it, but unfortunately just a bit too punchy at this time.
Yeah, extra spicy jalapeno kitty. Well, puppy. Sorry. But with a little tweaking, I'm pretty sure we can get some work with a little bit of jalapeno puppy.
Oh yeah, Judge Joe's a fantastic runner. Unfortunately, it's a pretty quick spot and can punch hard. And thankfully here, because the monster in the boxes are randomized, it's in the very first box, so pretty easy to get back there quickly.
And we're doing or is that ordeals?
Now that would be the
No, no,
Fabul
that's
Castle. Yeah.
Fabulous Castle, right? Yeah.
Oh, and actually paying off big for Scarcer, because there is Rubicon, one of our objectives.
Now, is Rubicon really a hard boss in this particular location? I wouldn't, I've not come across with Rubicon in this space before yet.
Not too much. Ruby can be really tricky in spots with high magic power because he counters physical attacks with the fire 2 on everybody. So there's not super high physical attack power here. And then couple that with the fact that you're hitting really hard with the ambidextrous flag. So we really only saw one that Scarcer had to deal with. And there it goes, already down.
Yep, by the time it took you to explain it to me. That was a pretty quick.
Definitely speaks to the ability of our runners. And wow, picking up a twin harp for the troubles there.
Yep, excellent payoff for that check.
Yeah, it's our second key item. Scarcer did pick up a spoon earlier. Apologize, did miss that one. But that is probably not going to be used, unfortunately. None of those objectives are there. You don't pick up a character. Maybe that wyvern is sitting there at the boss spot. But otherwise, when you only really need 5 of these objectives, really hard to route in the twin harp check. It's so long.
We see Judge Joe right there following Ruby.
Yeah, it has to be feeling like he made the right play to follow some of the standard overworld checks. Usually you end up doing Fabul, or at least sometimes folks will fade Fabul because you obviously have the pan checks there as well. And so sometimes people will try and maybe do that last so they can try and get underground first, then come back and do a 2-for-1 deal of the Fabul check and some of the Sheila checks from the pan. But in this time, did it while he was on the overworld and getting that ruby and his first objective as well. Scarcer using a really great pickup in Baron from early on, getting those coffins and being able to use them right away just to take down the jalapeno puppy. Not an issue anymore. Getting a crystal ring and showing off the ambidextrous flag and putting it on his body, or Cecil's body, but nonetheless not an objective, but the speed from that can be very helpful.
How does the speed help?
So when you go into battle, the game will kind of look at your center character as well as the boss and kind of set your battle speed, your agility from that. And having more agility means that you will get more opportunities to take your turn. That's kind of a distilled version of it. So by making your character faster, they'll be able to take more turns in battle.
I see we've got the D-Lunars, knocking that out real quickly.
Yeah, doing a great job of taking care of them. Very low HP at that spot, but coupled with the fact that they are undead and thus very weak to healing items. Just cast a Cure 2 on them, take them down.
We got a ribbon for our troubles.
A very nice piece of equipment, can protect from a lot of status ailments and put on a little bit of decent armor, but not maybe the key item we're hoping for. And with the Rydia there, not the Edward that maybe we're hoping for either. But Scarcer taking on Bahamut in Antlion Cave and getting the spoon for their troubles.
Now I see a whole lot of rearranging of the party, and that's significant when it comes to this kind of strategy, I understand, because of anchors.
Yes, correct. So, like I was saying earlier, when you go into battle, the game kind of looks at whoever is your center character and uses them as the basis for setting the speed for battle. So, if you want to go fast, it's better to, or if you're going up against a slow boss, it's better to have a fast character there. If you're going up against fast bosses, it's better to have a slow character there. And so rearranging them can do a lot of good in that respect. Also, of course, if you want to put some folks in the back row, it'll make them a lot more protected from taking those punches if you run into a really physical boss.
Well, Scarcer just yeeted that chocobo. I don't know if that was necessary, but it was definitely amusing to watch.
The chocobo, yeah, kind of little interesting even picking up a chocobo there when you run so dang fast, but maybe showing off, hey, if I'm gonna make a trip to the chocobo forest, might as well have some fun with it. But Judge Joe making a trip to Evelyn Castle, looking to take on some of the monster in a boxes over there. Interesting enough, picked up a Leviathan summon. So once again, we're talking a lot about the ambidextrous flag and the ability for any character to put down any equipment. But at the end of the day, Leviathan is a lot of AoE damage. It hits everything on the screen for quite a bit of power. As you can see, they're over 2,000 each. So maybe Iridia won't hit things. Maybe she'll just drown things.
Yeah, that was very effective. It made a nice, quick work of that. And we've got King and Queen Evelyn over at
That would be Ordeals
Yeah.
one, I believe. Yeah, just saw them heading up there. Um, Maybe not necessarily the boss you're looking for there, if only because it's a very easy boss. Maybe you'd prefer it in one of the harder spots, but nonetheless, really easy to get through, really fast. And funny enough, another queen to face on the backside of that bridge. Now, Asura can be a little tricky of a boss, especially in this spot. As you can see, kind of a bit fast. She heals herself with no ability to put a wall on her to bounce those heal spells off of. You essentially have to get into a damage race with her. And that looks to be what Scarcer is going to do, casting Berserk with Porum onto Cecil, who with two weapons is going to do plenty of damage here, as long as he can keep ahead of maybe those Cure 4s.
Yeah, Berserk on Cecil is a very good tool and a very good strat when you're in a damage race.
Yeah, absolutely. And also a fantastic lucky roll on that Grimoire to pick up the best boss, or the best summon, Bahamut. Fantastic luck with Judge Joe on his side, a monster in a
Right?
box
He
over
does
there in
have a
Eblin.
video, yeah.
He does. Now, unfortunately, doesn't have the hook to turn it in, but part one of an objective, and that always feels good to know that you've got a route to an objective.
I'm interested to see in who is in the spot after two queens.
It would be great if it was Leviathan. We picked up another king, so we had double the royalty all the way through. Well, Scarcer picking up the key item of the Luca key. That is a fantastic pickup. Oh my gosh, it is. It's Leviathan. So the
Great
King and Queen of
call.
Fay March and the King and Queen of Evelyn visiting Ordeals today.
Absolutely.
But like I was saying, that Luca key is a really great pickup because we have two objectives behind that. Unlocking the sealed cave. So that is essentially as soon as you get down underground, and then completing the sealed cave. A bit tricky, can be a very strong boss spot down there and a bit of a long walk, but one of the nice things is since this is O-Win and you don't have a Z fight to contend with, if you make that your last objective, then you don't have to walk out. You're done. You won the game. So not quite as daunting as it may be otherwise.
Honestly, it just shows the great skill of both of our racers, because I would have a hard time trying to, like, route how I would do this with so many objectives available.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think Scarcer has a really good idea, kind of taking some of the low hanging fruit in Mount Ordeals open from the beginning. Not too terribly hard to get through there as long as you have a little bit of power, which, of course, with Ambidextrous, not a hard thing to do when all you can pick up a lot of really good gear and treasure chests. So made handy work of it now at 2 out of 5 of his objectives. Now on the tracker, because we have so many objectives that are a little condensed, so it's not lighting up as you would expect, but nonetheless still has 2 objectives even though one's lit.
And Judge Joe got a spoon.
Someone apparently did not want that spoon found because they buried it really deep in a cave there. But nonetheless, uh, both of our runners having found that, funny enough, kind of trading positions. Judge Joe going very early to Evelyn Castle to the Monster in the Boxes. Now, Scarce are heading off that way after doing a lot of the overworld. So I think we're probably going to see a decent amount of overlap. At this time, where they're kind of treading each other's steps, trying to figure out, where in the world is our underground access.
Yeah, I think you're right. As far as everyone's pretty much gone through a lot of their overworld checks, so it really is going to be boiling down to underworld access and going down there to see what they can get done.
Very interesting play by Judge Joe, kind of eschewing what I think most runners would do with fading that harp, actually choosing to embrace it and go down there. Decent amount of treasure chests, unfortunately, the sparse flag getting in the way there, but you do have a boss check here. It is a key item check, and of course, having not found underground access, that could be it. Certainly not necessarily the worst play. With all the power, you can get through the boss pretty quickly, and hey, if it doesn't have value, you reset. If it does, you've got to pour them with exit.
Yeah, I definitely can. I follow what you're saying. I believe you're. um, that is actually really good gamble and has a pretty decent rate of working out for in his favor.
Scarcer, we didn't catch it when Judge Joe was over there, but Scarcer, checking Cave Evelyn, did find the Baron key, so now both of our racers have that. That is, we know a Val in the first spot, but potentially two more boss spots. Another key item check, a character check, most of all, looking for that Edward. And speaking of Edward, we've got a harp check, which means we've got harp music.
So we get to see what the Spoony Bard gets to play with it for us today.
Play us a good one, Spoony B, and let's hit listen.
Well, with Judge Joe finding the CPU, not super hard in my experience, but does take a little time to kind of get down and through that.
Yeah, should only take this Leviathan to punch it down. Oh, actually not, but nonetheless with a Berserk Porum of all characters here, goes down really fast.
So we got a Berserk Porum for some cleanup after Leviathan does some decent amount of damage.
A really fun song too. I've never heard that one in the pool, so that is great to have that opportunity. Hey, speaking of underground access,
we can now go underground. Yay!
legitimately, it's not a meme, folks. It's actually happening. So, wow, what a check from Judge Joe, making a really interesting play of going to Harp even before the objective of complete non-reveals, and really picking up some really good value. If the hook is not also on the overworld, I could see this being really beneficial for Joe, because, like I was saying, a lot of people choose to fade Harp because of how long of a check it can be, and that could be extremely beneficial if that is the only way to underground.
We're doing the party shuffle.
Yeah, this is certainly shaping up to a potentially very zoomy seed. So, you know, Joe is obviously going to end up going and doing ordeals. I think with the objective being there, it's a much too alluring rather than fading it like maybe normally you maybe could do. But add that into the fact with the magma key on hand and picking up the Luca key, if he can get through Sealed Cave, he'll have four objectives under his belt, and then something quick like a pan or the hook or something like that would get him to his goal of five objectives.
Yep, it definitely does look like it is shaping up to very, very zoomy seed. So I hope everyone had their daily dose of caffeine.
I'm still working on mine actually here in the commentator booth, taking sips. But Scarcer, interesting enough, heading back into Baron, did do the treasure chest there, but did not check this Rydia. So we know that unfortunately it is not a key item, but should go really quickly for him with the power that he has now.
Yeah, he should not have any problem with D-Lunars right now at his power level. So
Once again, Judge Joe really kind of eschewing maybe what I'm exposing myself as what I would do as a runner, heading underground right away, not going to ordeals, but going over to Fay March. You know, you've got two options here. One, of course, you have your free key item here. You have another potential key item in the soldier monster in a box, which he looks to be searching for by doing some looting, and you have the Asura spot boss, which is extremely tricky and probably even with the power that one can get from Omnidexter is probably a little too punchy for this party, but nonetheless, at least you get some knowledge from that. And there's always, of course, the potential that something like, say, the Baron Guards, where you can just toss a couple coffins and get through it.
is he Scarcer putting that newly acquired ribbon to use by putting it on Edward with the spoon?
You know, if you're going to spend the time to do a check and get something, you might as well use it, darn it. Unfortunately, Judge Joe taking an unfortunate wipe to the soldiers. Of course, walking through the Fey March, that's going to put you down at 1 HP, walking over all those poison tiles. Was hoping to get the Leviathan off to take them down, but unfortunately, Rydia just not fast enough to get that off in time. But going to give it another shot, doing some of that party rearrangement to see if maybe we can get this off in time this round. In fact, he does. So now it's the other question of, is that Rydia powerful enough? Oh, and you better believe
And
taking...
it is.
Joe really showing off how fantastic of a runner he is and how great of a player he is there. Just a black shirt for the Troubles, which is somewhat unfortunate, but hey, when you've got two radios that both can cast Leviathan, that black shirt gives you a lot of extra wisdom, which would be great for the black magic.
Well, we're at the Town of Monsters.
Checking that free item.
And Scarcer's up with Val Valis.
Key item being a legend sword, so unfortunately not any of our objectives. But, you know, Scarcer taking Baron, not a bad play. Like I was mentioning earlier, there's 3 boss spots there. We did know Val was one of them, but that gives you another chance to pick up that Wyvern fight. Of course, another key item and also a character check. So if we do find our Edward here, that could potentially save a lot of time over maybe even having to go all the way down the sealed cave with that Luca key.
Now, going all the way down to the sealed cave for the Luca key, why would that be good if you could just kind of bypass that at this stage?
It's a little bit of a long check to run all the way down there, and like I was mentioning, a very punchy boss spot. You know, not the hardest one, but also not a pushover. So, you know, when you are running with a fast flag set, you may not have as many levels as you normally would in a standard one, where you've got to prep for Z. So being able to cut some time out by just say picking up an Edward or trading away a rat and Pinktail, where all you have to do is just fly your hovercraft over there, could end up being a pretty big time save. Scarcer showing us that just the Water Hag on the Baron Castle Throne, very easy fight to get through. Only have to hit it 3 times for the script to play out and for it to fade away and die. Not a punchy spot either, so it can totally get through. Doesn't matter how much damage you do. But once again, maybe something you would have preferred to see in, for example, that Astra spot, where it's a really tough spot to get through as an objective, and you could have just hit it 3 times and they're done. But with that, through the boss, and we're going to see that it is a Sid, not the Edward we were looking for, but a little dose of vanilla.
I always like a little vanilla in my seed.
I don't know, sometimes I like a lot of it. It's always a good time when you see a little vanilla like that. Or I don't know, that might be the other twin, but nonetheless a twin statue too, so potential second vanilla right there.
Tasty, tasty vanilla treats.
Oh no, so Judge Joe showing us the 2 bosses in the Fay March. Dolls in the king spot, but the dreaded Kanazo in the queen spot. Kanazo is really crummy there because their wave ability is based off of the HP that they have. So that spot has plenty of HP that wave will absolutely take this party down in no time flat. So that is not an easy boss to get through. That being said, Judge Joe showing us that the dolls in the king spot are a quick boss to get through with a Leviathan summon. And with the K summon flag on, it will be a key item check. And
The
a
hook!
big one. Holy Toledo, that is fantastic. That opens up Pinktail for Judge Joe now.
So to summarize, with Judge Joe, he's got access to Underworld, and he's got the ability to turn in the Pinktail, and Scarcer is doing really good as well.
Wow, Judge going after Kanazo. Actually, you know, if Judge Joe were to drop everything and head up Ordeals, he would have go mode because he would have be able to turn in the Pinktail for his second objective, complete the Ordeals for his third, and then he'd just have to get through the sealed cave for 4 and 5. But choosing to take on the Kanazo, very, very brave play here. This is a tough fight to take on, as you can see. Punching that one Rydia for over 1,000 almost immediately, and already gathering the water too. Thankfully, he does have a Thor Rage. You can kind of have the water go down by casting lightning once it's come up, and that will prevent the wave. But sometimes it feels like it doesn't prevent the wave, because if the Kanazo is able to queue it up as an attack before you do that, it will still go off and still hurt you real bad.
Hold on, let me get my notebook and pen because I might want to write that down.
Yeah, Kanazo is definitely one of the trickier bosses, and there you see that's really unfortunate. Despite casting that Lit 3 just about as quickly as can be, Kanazo is so fast here, gets that wave off and takes this whole party down.
Well, but still, today I learned, and the more you know.
Exactly. So, you know, Joe unfortunately did not save. Once again, really trying to maximize time. Unfortunately, didn't work out this time, so it does need to take on the dolls to get that hook back. But actually choosing just to go after Kinazo once again, feeling like he's got the solution to it. He just needs to get it down first. But we're about to get our second dose of music, so we're gonna a little bit and let y'all enjoy. Joe really showing some grit and determination, taking that turtle on time after time, still not having quite the luck in the party comp to get it done quite yet, but really working on changing the battle speed, looking at the equipment, putting that blitz whip on to hopefully hit Kanazo's weakness when the wave is up of lightning damage. Um, Really making a determined effort like, hey, I am here, this is an objective, I will get it done. But in the meantime, Scars are picking up the magma key from that harp check and now has their underground access.
I mean, I can definitely understand Judge Joe's determination on trying to just get this out because he's there. It's right there. Just has to knock it down. And he knows he can, and that'll just open up a lot for him. If it'll probably have a really good payoff, I think.
Yeah, it turns into that balance of, like I said, you're here. If you can get it down, that's one of your objectives. You only need 5, and you definitely have the power to do it. You just need a little bit of luck with the targeting. You can see there, Cecil is really his key to his damage output, and unfortunately, Kinazo took his first punch and put Cecil on the ground, and that just kind of unfortunately turned the battle right off the get-go. But once again, working the party and going to give it another go. But it really turns into that balance of, how much time are you spending doing this versus doing a little bit more looking around for, say, an Edward or something like that. And as we know here, we're kind of in no mode of, unfortunately, this may not have as much value as he would like it to have. Getting this done means that when he picks up that Luca key, when he hopefully eventually goes over to Mount Ordeals, he won't actually have to complete the sealed cave because he will have done this first. But unfortunately, this turtle is not playing nice today.
I mean, as a relatively new player, I am just amazed at the level of skill by both of these racers. I am learning so much just by watching. I really love the way that each one of them have a different plan and they're sticking to their plan.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's really lovely about this community. These restreams are a great way if you're a new player to learn a lot by watching players who are so skilled in what they do. We have a fantastic Discord community with a really thorough newbies corner where folks can come in and ask any and all questions, and the really knowledgeable folks will jump in there and share their knowledge and help you out. So if you're a first-time watcher, you're wanting to try this out, maybe get into the speed racing portion of it, really can't recommend it enough to come join us in the Discord, and we'll more than happy to teach you how. Wow. Joe,
And he just got it. Wow.
that is amazing too, because that Cecil had 1 HP left. That wave left him with one
I was
HP.
holding my breath, I'm not gonna lie.
If that had been any different, then that would have went really awful, and that potentially showed how strong that Blitz Whip was, because that gave just that extra little bit of punchiness to Cecil. Once again, I was mentioning that wave ability is very much based off of HP, so the more you hit the turtle, the less that wave will do, and that was the key. And Joe now has his second objective.
And as Joe knew it was dolls, he's just doing some quick cleanup. And yeah, there is his second objective with a package.
That hook, of course, having a lot of value with the pink tail in your inventory, and knowing that all it takes a Leviathan to get those dolls down. Joe making very quick work, and done with the Fay March. No longer needs to be here, done all the checks. Scarso, on the other hand, making very interesting play, not even bothering to go to Fay March for the free item, the monster in a box, the 2 boss spots that have an objective, going right to the sealed cave, leveraging that Luca key that he picked up, and knows that there are 2 objectives there, and feeling pretty confident with his power to get through that boss spot.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was. More case in point of what I'm saying is these 2 racers got great skill, each having a different take on this seed, but both just riveting. I think it's anyone.
Oh wow, and Scar making the correct play, picking up the pan from the key item check there, and with a turn pan to Yang's wife, that's go mode for Scarcer. Just has to get through this boss, run over Bonk Yang, and turn that in Fabul, and he is done.
Just tossing a coffin at it as he
Wow.
picks those up.
Great favorability there. Yeah, picked up those coffins really early out of the Baron item shop. The first place both these runners stopped, tossing them both over, and he is done. Now, like I was mentioning earlier, it's a bit of a long walk out of here, but with Rydia, you do have the warp spell, so you can warp out a lot faster than walking, and I think that was where Scarcer was really thinking, you know what, I don't mind too much, let me go ahead and do it. Judge Joe, instead, choosing to dip into Sylph, did do some looting to look after those monster in a boxes, picked up the Centipede, which is the easiest one, which did give the Darkness Crystal, which is a key item. Unfortunately, not a lot of value today, despite 10 objectives. Not a single one gated behind Darkness Crystal. Unless that Wyvern's up on the moon, I should say.
Actually, with the way this is going, as zoomy as it is, I'd be surprised if we even see the moon today.
Oh, very much so. I mean, you do have quite a few bosses up there. You do have a character checked on the dais, so there could be value up there. But it would take a lot of time, between the whale raising cutscene, the flying to the moon, parking and walking in, the character cutscene too is long, even if it is an Edward. And when you only need 5 and you already got 2, and you're about to go turn in your 3rd, yeah, I think it's a little hard to make that decision.
I know that I am been on edge just because this is just so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Scarcer definitely has the advantage here, but I think Judge Joe gonna go turn in the Sheila 1 check. Did dive Self to kind of make that initial talk to Yang, so he can have the Sheila 1 check done. Sometimes that is the pan, so it's what you have to do. You got to double route that in. Curious to see what it is, because we know it's not pan here, so does it have value?
It looks like it's the crystal.
Yeah, the crystal ring, unfortunately, that's really great item, but when you're in a pretty tight race and you've got 3 objectives and you're only looking for 2 more, you were maybe hoping for something like that rat tail that would get you through instead. So unfortunate for Joe. Deciding to keep it, it's a really wonderful piece of armor, but probably not quite what he was looking for. with that said, Scarcer, 4 goals already done. The fifth one in his hand, walking up, and as soon as he turns in the pan, we are going to see the win screen for him.
So GG Scarcer.
Yeah, GG Scarcer, fantastic play. Uh, 42 minutes and change there. Really ran the seed fantastically well. Judge Joe showing a lot of grit and determination. Unfortunately, not paying off quite as much as he would have liked today, but he's got his 3 objectives in hand already too. Looks like he may be flying over. Interesting enough to turn in that darkness crystal. Once again, doing nothing if not eschewing what I think someone might choose to do. So just a joy to see a runner take, unique pathing, especially something different from you, because once again, you can learn a lot from watching people, and especially fantastic racers like the 2 we have today.
Oh yeah, I have definitely learned a lot about just how 2 different players can take such a different approach and still be very, very strong.
Yeah, and this is certainly the flag set that really benefits that, if you will. With only 5 out of 10 objectives, you can make some really gambly plays, something that maybe you wouldn't do when you have high objective rates and you just got to do your objectives. Here you can kind of pick and choose and flex them a little bit. Like I said, you got that character check, which maybe that's what Judge Joe's doing right now, an early Wyvern, and he's got his 5 with not something he normally would think. We thought we wouldn't see the moon. Here we are, we're on the moon.
So hopefully, I don't know, is Scarcer gonna come in and talk a little bit about his thoughts?
We will see. Doing. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully we get an opportunity to speak to Scarcer if he wants to join us here in the booth, and in fact, here he is. I did not hear the ding. GG Scarcer.
GG, thank you.
Yes, GG Scarcer. It was very entertaining watching you. I've learned a lot.
So Scarcer, I'm very curious. You got underground. And I think usually the kind of logical play a lot of people do is they'll head to the Fay March because you got your key item check, a monster in a box, the Asura spot on your objective list, but you went right for Sealed Cave. I'd be curious to hear what your thought process was in your routing there once you got underground.
Cecil had 3 heroin rubs. Short of the only thing that would have burned me there was exactly Wyvern. Because I didn't have fails.
Indeed.
It's regular Wyvern on this flag set, right?
Fairly confident it is. I'd have to double check, but I don't believe Witchburn is on, which means that, yeah, Witchburn is not on. So that would have been a mega nuke right out the gate.
Yeah. It was 2 objectives. The plan was, well, if I didn't find exactly heroin rubs in the Agate shop, it would have been the normal routing of do the march and looking at the spoiler log, it was dolls there.
Yeah, it was dolls in the king spot, Kanazo in the queen spot. Absolutely
that
ugly
is
there.
Disgusting.
Yeah, that is not a whole lot of fun.
I had 2 Leviathan casters. No, I could have done that. That would have been fine.
Yeah, definitely doable, and Judge Joe got through and was able to get it done, but not a fun time at all. That being said, dolls did have hook. You had pink tail in your pocket, so that was another route to go mode. But that pan pickup, fantastic. When you were up on the overworld kind of early in the seed with such a big amount of objectives and only 5 to do, what was your thought process when you were picking your routing?
Well, it was loot enough so that I had the power for Porum to clear ordeals, and that was solved with the MC and 2 light swords. I think I found... Did I find... I don't remember if I found a J... No, I found coffins in the Baron shop, which was nice.
Yeah,
my...
we're...
Yeah?
I said, I was really excited to see you getting coffins in the Baron shop so early, and then you put them into really good use at the end.
I was a little sad about that. I had 3 heroin robes on Cecil. I wanted to see the number go bare, but the coffins were faster. And I didn't know if Joe was hot on my heels or not. Did Joe... Where was Luca? Was Luca...
I was up on ordeals, so you know.
He tried to fade ordeals, classic.
Yes, yeah, it made the ordeals fade, which is, you know, maybe perhaps interesting with it being an objective, but nonetheless, you know, once again, you have so many objectives, you only need to do 5. It's certainly not required.
Fading ordeals in Mom Spaghetti is classic Judge Joe.
Perhaps a little bit of know thy opponent in knowing that maybe you'll pick up even greater value there if they fade it.
I didn't think he was going to fade it because he usually does not fade objective ordeals. You'll see like the 4 boss hunts on the board and he'll fade ordeals because it's, you know, kind of slow. And it's like, oh, it's not always going to be up. They're not always going to be up there. And, you know, when Joe doesn't fade ordeals, there's no bosses up there. Or when Joe fades ordeals, there's no bosses up there, and there was no bosses up there.
Well, I stand corrected in my earlier statement. We do get to see the moon.
Oh yeah, I love the moon. It's
Yeah,
a shame there was no moon objectives. With Spoon Black Sword, I would have loved to get Darkness Crystal.
yeah, really only that case summon spot and you know some boss checks, but that Ruby coming out pretty early. I mean, I'd be curious to know, you know, with an early Ruby fight, Mount Ordeals on there, and knowing that getting Edward could have been easy. Was there any sense of panic or a sense of like, oh, this is going to be an exceedingly jetty seed when you were looking at objectives, and especially when you found that Ruby really early?
Well, I'm racing Joe, so I'm expecting to lose. And when I'm expecting to lose, the seed becomes a lot easier.
I think I can understand that as a fellow runner myself. You know, sometimes you just kind of are more willing to take some interesting plays, perhaps.
Oh, I was just playing the game. I think my overworld routing was clean except for doing Baron. I was in underground go mode for a long time, and if I had noted that Baron couldn't have been logical underground, I would have saved the Baron time.
Now, Scar, I'm a newbie, so I just had a question. How do you make the decisions to route when you first see so many easy objectives, but yet still have access to pretty much a lot of it? How do you make those decisions on the fly like that?
Well, I know how much XP. Well, I know like the opening route that'll get Porum to exit and Berserk. So if you, because you know doing the monster boxes, you know, doing overworld monster boxes, Hobbs and Fabul was something you just part of the opening route of OMG. So I knew I'd get Porum to 17 from, you know, basically doing the north half of the overworld. The Flame Dog chest, Antlion, Hobbs, and Fabul. And then it's either go to Ordeals for boss hunts or go to Twin Harp and get 2 levels to get Porum from 17 to 19 and learn exit.
Okay, so an advice to myself and other newbies is just getting to know the numbers is pretty much a good foundation of being able to make these kinds of decisions.
Honestly, just do the easy checks. Like that north half of the overworld they're very easy checks. There's, you know, low thousands, low 2000s HP in those boss spots. And then checking shops, like in flag sets where you can find vampires and shops of a few vampires can make. Oh, you found an Avenger? I'm jealous.
Well, I've been having trouble with my inner shiny loot gremlin. As I've been playing RPGs for a really long time, and I tend to take a lot of loot gremlin, and that kind of strategy is not good for randomizers. I've realized kind of quickly.
Well, for this one, it's fine because it's too wild, and you can, an Avenger will save you the time it takes to have looted to the Avenger.
Well, I think the other interesting thing with Avenger too is, you picked up an early Cecil anyway, so maybe not quite as pertinent in this specific race. But with the Ambidextrous flag on, it kind of ends up having a lot of value. So I think is there any sort of thought that you end up having with that flag on, especially with S Wild and T Wild on, about like when is enough power enough? You know, I guess 3 heroin robes is enough. But, I
Um,
think
I think 2 light swords is enough power for the like a light sword and some agility boosting gear. Like I found a crystal ring, which you're not likely to find, but if you get like light sword, black sword, that should be enough power for the overworld. And then you check a shop before you go under. You check the nearest shop to your underground access, and if you spike something there, you spike something there, and if you don't, you're kind of sad and keep going. Huh. With ordeals gating 4 objectives. That's the closest I've seen to a required anything in this flag set.
yeah, kind of hard to have something hard required, but certainly with 4 objectives there, that's I don't think you're gonna have as good of a time unless you do it that way.
Did
But
the pan turn into a key item? I didn't see.
I didn't see either because the objective popped up, and unfortunately, I was kind of so enthralled between our interview and Joe's race, I wasn't watching the scroll. Um, but one of our chatters, Paradox, saying that Pan is the rat tail. So, wow,
So
everything
that's
really
5.
condensed. Yeah. So actually, yeah, that's a 5th key item since the Luca key was up there. So
Yeah, that's 5 objectives, so it is almost required to do ordeals in this seed. And if the rat tail turned into anything, it could have been actually required to do ordeals, which would be hilarious. I hope this is Wiver. All right.
Ogo Pogo.
Well, I won't hold y'all too long. Have
Yeah.
Thanks for putting on a show, and thanks for having me, and I'll see y'all later.
Well, thank you for coming to talk to us and answering a couple of my questions, and I hope you have a great afternoon or evening.
All right, you too. Bye.
Yeah. Have a great one, Scar. Unfortunate for Joe, his sparkle is in another castle. Maybe literally. So no luck there so far. No Eddie, but still a key item check. And Joe just very, very committed to the ordeals fade at this point, trying to find that value anywhere else but that cursed mountain. But
Uh,
well, oh, go ahead, Part.
I was saying, one of our chatters is saying they didn't know how Scar resisted doing a surf before it sealed, and I was wondering why would that be so tempting.
The Fay March has quite a bit of value down there. You do have a free key item check from the Fay March, which is great. That could have been the pan, which we know it wasn't, the rat tail. You have the monster in the box down there. That is also one. And then the Astra spot, which is one of your objectives. Now, it turned out to be a pretty crummy one, unfortunately. But if that had been an easier boss, or heck, even a medium tier boss with all the power that they had, you could have had objectives, and also that hook was fantastic as well. So, it tends to be a quote unquote logical play. But at this point, as Scar was saying in an interview, you've got all the power in the world to get through Sealed Cave. It'll put you at a 4 out of 5, and in his case, it also had the lucky draw being the pan. Now, Judge Joe showing off the other way to get that pan with the warp glitch being on. Just got to do dwarf, cast warp wall right after you fight the bosses, and the game unfortunately glitches out and sends you to the crystal room in the Sealed Cave, not the crystal room behind the dwarven throne. So he has picked up his pan, which is going to give him another objective as he bonks Yang. And as we know, the rat tail will end up coming from that, and this is going to be his 5.
Just gonna go and turn those in.
Now, Joe, well, while we were interviewing Scarsir, Joe went up to the moon, did the Bahamut summon spot check with K summon on, did the monster in a box with the hair dryers in the lunar terrain, did end up picking the adamant rock up as well. So, going to go ahead and turn in the Kokol check to see what key, what item or what weapon is going to come from this. Unfortunately, just the Caliburn, and with the path to 5, kind of, he doesn't quite know yet, but it is there. Not even, it's an unfortunate pickup, but not as devastating as maybe it would be other times. Well, Joe, pan in hand, knowing it's one of his objectives, going to go turn it in very soon to pick up the pink tail. And having already turned in, or I'm sorry, the rat tail, and having already turned in the pink tail, that hovercraft is sitting there. So very quickly going to be done with the seat as well. But while he is wrapping this up, take an opportunity to say thank you so much to my fellow Restream team today. Pyre restreaming, Darth Plagle hitting the buttons, Kiora joining me in the booth today. Thank you so much. And of course, to all you folks joining us today to watch. We hope to see you all on the Discord, hope to see you on the next restream. And it's been an absolute blast having you here and doing commentary with you, Kiora.
It's been an absolute.
And there it is, GG's to Joe, getting his 5th objective, wrapping up with a time just a hair over 1 hour, and GG's to him.
I'm sorry, my mic cut out. It was been an absolute pleasure sharing the booth with you, and GG, Judge.
Well, that was a fun seed.
Joe, I think you are just seemingly very committed to not going up to ordeals. So I think that's got to be potentially the first question. There is what was the aversion to ordeals, and what was kind of your routing plan going into the seed today?
I decided to have a little bit of fun. I considered going to ordeals, decided to go to Twin Harp, got the Magma Key, went, okay, I'll go to ordeals when it's pretty much I'll go finish on ordeals unless I get, say, a Luca key or something, and it'd be more efficient to finish in Luca. So I decided to hold off on it, do the Fay March, got Darkness, decided to chase it because I'm still missing one objective, which, yeah, ordeals could have had it. For all I know, it did have it, but I decided to just sort of keep on playing my game, doing my checks, and then went to Dwarf, warp glitched, got the pan, turned it in, got Rat Tail, and went, cool, no ordeals for me.
Yeah, I think you made the decision to go underground pretty quickly after you got that Magma Key, and of course went right over to Fay March Fay March maybe wasn't super kind to you, but really fantastic work on the Kinazo, even if it took a couple tries. When you saw the Kinazo, was there any hesitation in your mind of being able to take on that turtle in such a difficult spot, or were you just really committed to getting that done?
Not at all. I had anchoring. I had anchoring. I had the spoon. I had the blitz whip. I was pretty much. I messed up the fight a couple times. There. The time I got through, I also messed up the fight. First time, if I just uh didn't overestimate the damage, didn't or attempt to nerf, I'd have gotten through because I'd have done another 2,000 damage and lived through the first wave. So it was very easily doable with the amount of power available because, well, Omni and anchoring. And then I got more power.
Yeah, Dexterous gives you nothing but power, and especially when you've got the S Wild and T Wild flags on. Did that really kind of inform your overworld routing in terms of how you looted and how you got ready for the seed?
So where I looted the density, I did the T standard, the T wild looting, I didn't do the T pro, the T wildish. I went with Bear and I went with Dempsey and all of those kind of choices. Could have shopped more, but I was having fun with it. Didn't feel like checking a pile of shops for Avengers, X Cows, all of the goodies that I would have had to loot more to afford.
Well, I definitely enjoyed watching your strat to go against the little turtley. I definitely added it in my notebook because I did not learn that until today. So I really appreciate you coming out and showing your skills and having a good fun time with this very zoomy seed.
Yeah, no, Mom Spaghetti, for me, it's the type of club where, like, I I can go and give arguments for my choices, but I just get to sit back, relax, and mess about a little. It gives you the power to do so, and with the objectives, who knows, maybe it works out.
Yeah, it really feels like a flag set where you can take some pretty out there gambles that you never would in a very high completion flag set and have a lot of fun with it. And you certainly did, and really made it a good watch. Well, Joe, any final thoughts on your seed? Any final thoughts on the race today?
GG's to Scarcer. It's always fun to have these races. I'll likely enjoy watching this one back just to at least see how he handled the seed. And thanks for putting on the restream, doing commentary, tracking, all that jazz. It was lots of fun, and I hope everyone has a good evening.
I hope you have a good evening too.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe, for the wonderful show, and have a good evening.
All right, with that, I've been notified that there are no ratings. So come back if you like what you saw for another wonderful race on the 9th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thank you again for my co-commentator and our tracker and everybody in the Restream team.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Kiora. Great job on your first time here in the booth. It was great to have you here. A great show from our runners, and thank you so much to my fellow Restream team and all of the watchers out there. We appreciate having you here and chatting, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.